Nice.
And there we go. We are live.
Cool. So we're talking about what I was working on with the front end of visualized demography, and I was looking at how to add text areas in, like through the Ember guides. I had already used an input, so I was kind of using that as a guide to adding a text area as an input here. So you can see here that it has like a placeholder that says add gender to help. It's spelled wrong, but to help make data representative. And then we still have our update gender button. But then I took the opportunity to have a look at like different ways of representing the data besides the text area, So like one of the things I found was these checkboxes. But I don't know, maybe you can, from what I was seeing, like checkboxes don't come with a way to label them in Ember automatically. I don't know if that's true, but I found here this component that's a checkbox wrapped in a label called Ember checkbox with label. So I don't know. I had a doubt about whether we wanted to go just using something like this plugin that's already ready, or whether we just want to build our own component and kind of put more or less the same logic in there. But then I also
I'm leaning towards plugins, but in that special case, I would say let's use the plugins that we already use. So this is a dedicated plugin for the checkbox with labels. You can also, first of all, when I check a plugin, I make sure that, for example, it's maintained. Like latest commit is not so far in the past. Could you double check how old
4 months ago?
December 21st, 2017. But that's Greenkeeper. Can you check out the commits? So they use a plugin that updates dependencies, and that also creates commits. Can you show me when the last commit was by the actual author, Kelly Selden? You can click on commits.
Here?
Yeah. Okay, December. Oh. Okay, not so old. But this is the way I usually check out plugins. Like,
well, doesn't it make a difference whether the complexity of the plugin because this doesn't seem like it would be a plugin that has very much complexity to it, right? It's just adding a label to a checkbox.
If it's so small, I tend to write it on my own.
Yeah.
Or most of the time, we don't actually use it. But if I check out the plugin, I see whether it's maintained or not, how many stars does it have, and so on.
Yeah.
And I'm leaning.
But I guess the question is as well, like, I don't know if checkbox, I think like for me personally, I think radio buttons can be nice, but then same thing, like I was reading that Ember doesn't have automatic like support for radio buttons. So then you have this, that led me to this other, they have two of these, so I don't know when the last time this was.
Yeah, I understand. You're coming from Rails, do you?
Yeah.
And Rails, we have simple form.
Yeah.
Which makes it so easy to write a form for a specific model. That's not the usual case, I mean, when you write HTML, you have to implement everything, the whole form on your own. You have to write the form, you need to know the labels, the input fields, and so on. But it's not that difficult, to be honest.
No.
You can style up the form with our CSS framework.
Yeah.
And I think our CSS framework also comes with some plugins for input fields, search fields, drop-down menus.
Well, yeah, like here I was able to put a checkbox, right? And I was able to put text. And there are a couple more options at the input field that you can write just like this here, you know, we have input type checkbox with a name, and I tried to add a label, but that wasn't working. Or if you just do the default is a text field, right? So, but then you can add actions to it as well, you know. But the other thing is as well is that I was one of the things I ran into is that if you look here, when I actually push the button now for this update gender, for some reason it's failing now. Like update gender, and then if you come here, it just says the adapter operation was aborted.
Yeah.
So that's not a very helpful error message.
It means there's something wrong with the backend. You can check out the network tab and see, for example, if if there was a request that failed. For example, click now on update gender.
Where?
The button, update gender in your browser. If you click on it again. No, in the website.
Update gender. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
So probably the backend is not even started, is not even up and running.
Oh, no, it's not.
Yeah. There's also a bin stop, bin/rails. It will always run the application-specific GAMS and application-specific version of Rails. Yeah. Okay. So this is it. It would make sense to make a form. It would make sense to create a component for that form. A component that updates your gender and age or your demographic information.
So the component will ultimately then replace this code that we have here and here. Like this code will be copied into the component.
Yeah, so component consists of two parts: JavaScript part for the behavior and the template. And you can put the input fields into the template, and you can this would be in the component JavaScript code.
Okay.
And you would give the user to this component. So the component initializes the input fields with the existing data, for example, age group or male or gender, right?
Yeah.
And it can save the user.
When you say give the user to the component, you mean like impart it, or or like start
to pass properties into a component, or to pass properties? How to pass properties into a component. Do you remember the syntax for it?
To the syntax to add properties to what?
To pass properties from the controller to a component. There's a syntax in the template. You used it already with the dynamic high charts thingy. You said dynamic high charts, and then you passed in chart data and chart options.
Yeah.
And you can do just the same thing with your own custom component that you can name, for example, demographic form, something like that.
Yeah.
And you can pass the current user, into that component. And the component will render the relevant form in this place. I would say demographic.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so yeah, that created the template and JavaScript.
Exactly, and you can then replace in the template the input fields with the name of the component.
Yeah. So here, instead of this, we're gonna have the component demographic form, and then we're gonna have.
And then something like user.
So I can pass user equals user.
Yeah, but is there a hyphen? No, that's just your cursor. Yeah, okay, all right. Yeah, so now the component has a property called user, and it will be assigned with another variable which is also called user that comes from the controller. You can also copy paste code. I'm pretty sure we have something similar. Where do we save user data at the moment? I think the only place where we save user data is actually the geographic visualization, where you can update your location.
Okay, so let's come here to.
Maybe we can steal some code. Yeah, by the way, the naming is awful. If you think the naming is confusing, sometimes you can see that I was having difficulties with naming when I use 3 different terms for the same thing.
Yeah, right.
So, for example, I once used I don't know, 4 different terms for the same thing, for the vote thing. So there was how would you call the record that stores your, like, whether you're not your supporter broadcast, like the join model? How do you call it? I had vote. I had it's called impression right now. There was selection, and at least one more thing, and they all refer to this just the same thing. Like, it depends.
What is it that it refers to? Sorry.
Yeah.
What is it that it refers to?
The join model between user and broadcast. Like, it should refer to if a user likes or supports a broadcast or does not support a broadcast.
Yeah.
You could also call it like. That would be possible.
Yeah.
So I went for the name impression because it not only saves whether you support the broadcast, it also has the information whether you ever have seen it on your display.
Yeah, you could say something like supporter, no?
Yeah, the user is a supporter, but the user can support many broadcasts.
Yeah.
So what do you call this the connection, like? Anyhow,
yeah,
it's now called impression.
Impression. All right.
Like, you can have the server or the system collects impressions, like you see those broadcasts, and then you have an impression of the broadcast, and you can also click on like or support, and then you have a positive impression of that broadcast.
Yeah, because I mean, if you're a supporter, it would be able to have the information of like that. Not only do you like it, but how you're actually a consumer of it as well.
Yeah, that's another information. We don't track that information so far, but we could.
Yeah.
But then we would have to ask for it. Like, do you not only support it, but do you also consume it?
Well, I mean, there's yeah, that's true. We don't have any access to. They don't consume it on our website.
So you found you found it. This is the controller. There's no component for it, really? It's all in the controller. So this is the controller that has the data for the geographic visualization. We use a framework which is called Leaflet. Leaflet allows you to create maps, and you need to pass in, for example, the tile layer URL where the tiles for the map come from. There's a scale, but that is coloring the different regions of Germany, depending on how many people support a broadcast in that region. Yeah, and you can click on the map in order to update your location. And you first click on this button, Update My Location, and then you move the mouse into the map and click, and then this coordinates will be saved.
So here's this action, login action, start update location. So this is going to be called later, right?
Yeah.
And then that toggles, what that does is toggle the property is updating location. And then you're going to ask about that later, right?
Yeah.
If is updating location is true, then blah, blah, blah. If
I think you will find it if you scroll down.
On each feature, click. Okay, here's the click. If this.get is updating location, and create a user. Or, yeah, letting.
All right. So I would say we cannot steal code from here because we don't have a form. We have a complex logic in order to update your user data. I would now write the component from scratch.
Okay, so I already opened this. I have this open.
Do you want us to do really like test-driven development now? Because you can, for example.
Yeah, it's better now.
Yeah, so let's start with the component integration test then. Exactly. So component integration tests, you have those test cases, it renders. This is already a test. You can go to your test server and see it and run it.
That's going to build, but it's just going to check that it renders, right? So,
so there's a problem. Interesting. Anyhow, your computer is you have an SSD drive, do you? Because it takes way longer on my machine.
Yeah, I have a an SSD. Yeah, it's 256 SSD.
I have to buy another computer. My machine is quite old.
Yeah, I started working with my other one, and then I went to go visit family and work a little bit in the United States, and I was like, well, I have to take advantage of this and pick up a new computer. I actually bought it before I even left the country. Like, here we go.
But you have 3 failing tests.
For the component.
Not the component, but there's 3 other failing tests right now.
Yeah, well, one of them, it would be that failing test that yesterday. Oh, no, the backend started now. So, yeah, 3 failures. That's on the acceptance test. 1 on the. We need to change this as well, right? The name, because it's not very accurate.
I guess that's because of the match parameters, right?
Yeah.
And I think there's one other failing test because you're using an array as a property, and for some strange reason, Ember doesn't like this. You have to, if you want to assign an array to a property, you have to do it in your init method. That's not a big problem. You can fix it in 2 seconds.
Here, I think this is, it's because I changed this to mail when I updated the thing, right?
Yeah, let's try it out.
And now it should pass.
Yeah, okay.
So then from here, how do I on the other one, I could navigate to the, like I could click on it and navigate to whichever test I want. This one doesn't seem like it has like this is just a blank white space here that I don't know why.
Yeah, in the URL, you have the regex for for the test cases. So you can just remove the URL, the parameter grab, and that should be it. No, you can remove it entirely. Or you can try something else. Yeah, you can also, whatever you want, you can write it in your.
Try to navigate. Yeah, I was gonna try to navigate directly to but I don't know the URL exactly. ESL acceptance. Oh,
there you go. That was one. Yeah, that's so we have a linter, and the linter wants you not to use arrays as
default properties. Okay, where do I have a default property? And it's an array. The categories.
Yes. There was the controller.
Yeah. Components, no. Visualize, no. This one. Like this stuff here, the data.
Scroll up.
This here.
This one, the categories, line number 9. That's a property, and the property has an array. Yeah. And the way to fix it is to create an init method. Yeah. This init method, by default, you can check it on the Ember guides, will be executed as soon as the object is created. And there you can say this set, and then you pass the name categories, this set, this dot set.
This dot set.
Yeah, it's the Ember way of accessing and of getting and setting properties. Yeah, no, that was correct. This set and then string category.
But I need the string, huh?
Right. And then you pass in this array from below as a second parameter.
Without the array or the whole with the array?
The whole array.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you add, no, you can actually leave it. On line 15, you need a comma. And then you could say to make it a little bit more obvious for other developers, you could still have the property categories, but assign it to null. So other developers immediately see, okay, we have this property. It's just initialized in the init hook, and you give by null.
Null.
Null. Null. How do you pronounce it?
No.
Null.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, not a semicolon, a comma, please.
Because
or actually, do we need a comma there? I think so, yeah.
It's running the test, so that's a good sign.
So how many failing tests do we have?
2.
Let's see what remains. Oh yeah,
Oh, this thing here. This is something I had to use that I didn't really exactly understand. I didn't feel like they explained it very well.
Yeah, you're overriding the default init hook, and with this super ... arguments, you run the original parent init hook again. You should put in a semicolon here. Yeah.
Okay, so now we have one failing test. So all of the ESL wins passed.
You know what? Let's change the driver as soon as you fix the failure. You can commit that code, push it online on a branch. You are a contributor, so you can push it to a feature branch or something. And I will share my screen then, and you can watch how I create the acceptance or the integration test. And that's something you can later on implement.
Okay. I think I'll need to clean up some of the code that I added before I push, I think.
It's all right. Just fix the remaining failure and then push the code. It's okay.
Assertion failed. Attempting to inject an unknown injection. Service metrics.
Yeah. So
using the controller.
This is a little bit annoying. All the controllers have access to a service called metrics, which is because we are using pvik. That's an analytics plugin. So when people allow the browser to send analytical data, it will send the current route and search terms and all this to pvik. Okay. This is the service. So you have to add the service in the controller test. The controller test was generated, and the controller test doesn't know that this service exists. No, and that's why you have to add it to the controller test. The controller test is actually a unit test, not the acceptance test. The acceptance test is just fine. But there's a controller test for the unit test. For the controller.
Hold on. I can do unit demography. Unit controller. This one here.
And on line number 8, you can see how the syntax is in order to add other services. Just copy paste from the other controller test because they have just what you need.
Okay, so app test unit controllers app history. No, this one doesn't have either. Oh, here. Oh, so here. This whole thing here. Copy. And no, this is not the right one. Templates, no. App controllers. Unit. Demography. And so while we're here. So you don't think I need to just leave this here before I push?
And are all the tests running?
Yeah, they're all passed.
Yeah, just leave it there. Then just commit everything you have, and then I will start to share my screen.
Yeah, status.
Wow.
Yeah, these first three appear every time, you know, this gem file and backend, you know.
It's because we updated the gem file. Yeah, yesterday I wrote into the Rundfunk mitbestimmen Slack channel that it was a gem, a version of a particular gem that was removed from the repository, and that caused a lot of build servers to crash, not only ours, but also other people's build servers. So you probably updated it locally, also updated it, pushed it to master. So you don't have to check in, you don't have to commit the changes to the gem file. Just say git add -p, for example, and go through the code that you want to.
Yeah, but the problem is this takes a long time. Remember, because there's most of the commits are all this gem file.lock.
Yeah, what you also can do is git add -p and then add a path, for example, front end.
Yeah. If I'm adding the path, like the app controller, visualize all this, I want to add, you know. So let's see, visualize demography.
Or you can also just say git add dot. You're currently in the front end folder, so you would only add the current folder, and that's the entire front end folder. Probably this is what you want. If you want to double check, you can say git diff -- cached, which only shows you the changes that are in the green files now.
Now it doesn't work.
With the cached past tense. Yeah, there you go. This is what you would commit now. And yeah, that looks okay. Up to gender, yeah. I can't read it, but it looks okay. Yeah, you can use space too. Yeah, it's okay. It looks fine. Yeah. Good. All right.
You want to, you don't care about changing the name of this test? Click on population pyramid slice.
I don't care about it. We can do that later. I will give you a code review as soon as this is finished anyways. And as soon as I have time. So you can commit your code by saying, I don't know.
We had some tests, right?
Yeah, you last time you added the population pyramid. Now you added an acceptance test and the components for the form data. Form component, yeah, great, nice, awesome. Yeah. No, not please. No, not master. You're pushing to master. That will trigger a deploy.
But I thought my upstream master, no?
It doesn't matter. You can push to origin, but please add another branch. So what is your branch name now? Git status? Git gender demography. Yeah. So then say git push origin -u gender something, whatever your branch is called. Gender demography, gender_demography. Awesome. Okay, I'm going to share my screen now. All right.
Let's see.
So can you see the terminal of mine? Can you read it?
Hey, I don't know if you want to. Have you talked to Faith? Because she just sent me a message saying she's completed installing the front end part.
Awesome.
Do you want to invite her?
Yeah. I can give it a shout. Faith. Matt and I have a pairing. Do you want to join us?
Can I grab the water? Oh, never mind. Thank you.
Yeah, cool. Are you there again?
Yeah.
I thought you wanted to get some water.
I was going to actually, but then I realized my wife had already given to me. So, hey Faith.
There's Faith. Hi Faith, how are you?
Great, how are you?
Yeah, so this pairing is also recorded. If you want to check it out later, you can do so.
Okay.
We have this YouTube video here. The recording will be uploaded here. So you can check it out later if you want. So I was talking to Matt, and Matt was working on. We were about to change the driver. So Matt was developing on his machine, writing the component for a form where you can add some data.
Okay.
And my suggestion was that I'm going to be the driver now and write it on my machine and write an integration test, and then get back to Matt, or maybe you if you want, for you to finish the implementation to make the test pass. All right?
Okay.
And please apologize I apologize for my when I'm thinking a little bit slow. I didn't have any sleep tonight. I had a cough and I couldn't actually sleep. I fell asleep when it was 6:30 a.m. So tired today.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay, no problem.
Right. So I'm going to share my screen now. Here you go. So Faith, can you tell me if you can see my terminal and if the font size is large enough?
Yes, I can see your terminal and the font is okay.
Can you read it?
That's good for me as well.
Yes, I can.
Awesome. So I'm on the master branch right now. Matt has just pushed his code, so I'm going to check it by saying git fetch. And somewhere in here, we will find his branch. It was something with demography. This is it. So there's a branch, gender demography. You can check out that branch. Do you use Git on the terminal, Faith?
Yes, I do.
So you know what git fetch does?
Yes. It fetches what's
Right. So
online.
if you have any questions,
It fetches what's online.
It fetches the branches from the remote.
Okay.
That's what it fetch does. So I just fetch his branch and then check what's the name of the branch. I wasn't quite sure how it's called, something with demography in it. Now I would check out the new branch. Here we go. So I'm now on this branch. Say git log, and I can see the latest commit by Matt. That's today, acceptance test, create demographic form. If I git show, I can see what his changes were. So here's a new component, for example. Add some changes to a controller, one method in order to update something, right? So that's the change. And now I will, another terminal, will start the backend, the test server. So when you install Ember, there's a way to run the test, and that is Ember test. And you can say server will start a test server on your machine, and you can later on go to localhost 7357, and then you will see your tests there. Right? Does it make sense?
Yes, it does. Right.
So it's still building. It will take some time on my machine. I'm using a very old laptop. So here it's so much faster on Matt's machine. So this here takes, I think, 2 seconds on your machine, Matt. Are you there, Matt?
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry, I had it muted because then it doesn't change in my face when I talk or anything. Yeah, I don't know exactly how long it was taking, but it was quite quick.
It takes a long time. It's because of my old laptop, and I'm using an SSD drive. I have to buy a new computer. It's quite annoying that this takes so long. Anyhow, and now it's building, and soon we will see the tests in here. All right.
I didn't know about this localhost 7357, so that's nice.
You didn't?
No.
I think because your machine always auto starts your browser.
Yeah.
But yeah, the port is 07357.
Okay, I'm gonna try that.
While the front end runs in localhost 4200. I'm not going to run it now, but this is where you would then see front end. So this is 4200 front end, 7357, the test. Now, I'm using Vim or NeoVim, short for, on my machine, it's NVim. Yeah, and we are going to write a component test. So component test Ember, and let's see the documentation for the component tests. Here, Faith, a tip for you. Google will guide you to some arbitrary version of the documentation. You can see always the version of the documentation in the URL or here, and there's always a button to check out the latest documentation. So whenever you search for the Ember guides, always click on that button here in order to get to the latest version of the documentation. Okay? Can you see it? Or did you see it? Are you still there?
Oh, sorry, I was muted. Yeah, I see it. I was muted.
Okay. So where am I? Okay, so here the documentation. This is now the test server. This test server is running all the tests.
Yeah, I just ran my tests again.
So from time to time you can say something, because otherwise I will think that maybe the connection has dropped.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. And here you can see the past tests. If there are any failures, you will see them here. Right now, there's no failing test because Matt has fixed them all. But we want to write a new test. And this new test is ought to be failing because we want to implement it, right? So this is test first. You write a test. This test is failing. Then you write the implementation, and boom, the test will pass. Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah. And when we generate so when we generated the component, the demographic test, it automatically creates that test, like a dummy test, to make sure that the page exists, and just extend that, right?
Exactly. So AmberG component, which is short for generate, my component will create two files. I think 3 files.
Yeah, I think so.
The template for the component code, and the test. Okay, so, and I can see it here in my editor. So front end and test. Oh, no, that's the temp folder. Oh no, that will take now a long time because there's so many files in the temp folder. I accidentally opened temp. We have to wait for a couple of seconds. I'm very sorry.
Right.
Okay, let's go to the. Maybe we should put it here. All right. So in the meantime, I can show you how those Amber tests look like. There are different flavors of tests on the Amber guides. If you're on version 3.00, there's a whole chapter about testing. It starts with application tests that are the most high-level tests, right? I once had a talk about testing, and let me show you testing already. This is one. So I always have this picture in my mind where we have the testing pyramid and all the different flavors of different tests is visible here. So there are full stack tests, which in our case will run front end and back end. So here's the front end, here's the back end, and full stack tests will run both. But we have the separation here. And this is the most high-level test, while this is the most low-level test. That's the unit test. And you can compare it with this chapter here. So we have application tests, then we have component tests, and then we have unit tests. That is testing controllers, routes, and models. These 3 here are unit tests. This is an integration test. This is an acceptance test. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
We have that here. The more high-level a test is, the slower it is. Unit tests are fast in execution. Full stack tests are slow because they have to test so many things. But the confidence is higher. So there are more things under test. If there's any bug, it will likely break a full stack test. While there's a chance that it will not break a unit test because unit tests tend to be small, right?
Okay.
So when you write tests, when you do test-driven development, there's my tip for you, or my suggestion is implement a few acceptance tests, some integration tests, and many unit tests.
Okay.
That's why it's also called the testing pyramid. So the area should give you an idea how many tests there should be.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Okay, so we had the acceptance test. Now it's time for us to make a component test, which is one of the integration tests in Ember. A component will test a component isolated. Why is my laptop so slow today? It's unusually slow. Okay.
Maybe it didn't get any sleep last night.
Yeah, maybe my laptop didn't get any sleep as well. Yeah, that's true. Caching a large directory. Why do you cache a large directory? Right, so I'll show you how this looks. So we have this folder, templates, components, and we can find here. This is it, demographic form. Right, so this is a template which is currently empty of the demographic form thing, and the respective code for that component is under components. So here, front-end app components, then demographic form. That's the code for the component. Are you still with us, Faith?
Yes,
Can you follow? Right. And there's another.
This is
there's another file which is here. So we have tests, integration, and inside integration we can find components. And in there's there's the graphic form. Yeah.
Visualize now.
This is the integration test for the demographic form. This was generated. And this test is not doing many things. Here, this is the test case. And it's currently only rendering the template, demographic form. And then it expects to have length 1. That is, okay, it just exists. It's there. That's all. Okay. Here, this one is code, this part. We can copy that and put it somewhere in our root template. For example, this is, we can see it here already. So let's remove it. So line number 4 is just what the test does. So the test is just doing this here, not the rest. And maybe it should be better if I'm running front end too. It's confusing, isn't it, Faith, so far?
I haven't done JavaScript, so I am kind of floating, but I'm following.
I'm going to show how it looks like if you see it in the browser. So I'm now running the front end. This will take some time again. But, I hope you don't mind. So the responsibility for the form is to show to update your data. That is, we have some users, and those users in the future they can tell us how old they are approximately. We don't want exact dates, but it's interesting for us for statistical purposes to know the gender and the age group of that person. Right?
What's wrong with knowing the specific age?
Say it again, please.
What's wrong with knowing the specific age?
Data privacy, especially in Europe and in Germany. Indeed, people are very concerned about giving away their data, their personal data. Huh? What's happening?
Yeah, I think even with the gender as well, you know, like this is a feature that is optional, right? They don't have to answer, you know. It's a lot of times people, you know, want to know what's the purpose of you asking my specific, you know, how old I am or what gender I am or these kind of things, you know. What ice cream flavor is my favorite, you know.
Yeah. So we want to we only want them to add the for example the age if they are between 70 or 74 or something that's anonymous, or well it's not so personal that we could identify who's the user themselves, right? If this data is going to be published. So right now, this data here is just mocked. It's actually the population pyramid for Germany. What we actually want is the population pyramid of our users. Yeah? The data here is currently in demography. Yeah. So you can see the categories. And down here, you can see the data. This data is currently just mocked. It's fake data. Okay. And this is what you see here. This is the data that is visualized, and we want the user to input his or her data in order to fill this population pyramid.
Okay. What generated this fake data? You have to write it.
Say it again.
What generated this fake data? Did you have to write it?
I have troubles to hear your voice. We have can you repeat the question?
Okay. Did you have to write the fake data or what generated it?
If I have to generate the fake data, it's always the same. So right now it's always the same, no matter how often I hit refresh, because it's in the front end. Later on,
actually, we found it from this is from HighChart, so the data we just copied but you could create it if you wanted to, you know. It's hard coded instead of receiving the information from the back end like it will in the future. We just put something there so we can see what the chart looks like, and then we're adding different features, you know.
Yeah, we copied the data, and it's just that population pyramid. But we can, for example, I don't know, we could we could just mirror. Let's do that. We can just mirror it. We could say here, look. Female data. This is it.
Wouldn't you need to make it those positive though, the floats?
Oh right, yeah, true. Now we will see only half of it.
Yeah.
Okay, that doesn't work at all. Matt is right. So what we are going to see now, as soon as the server is ready, so it takes some time on the machine to build the application.
Okay.
We will see just half of it. or just that, yeah. Okay,
wow.
Interesting too.
That's funny.
Okay, let's undo it. Okay, but now you understand where the data is coming from, right?
Yeah,
and somehow, if you want to have real data, we want the user to input his or her data, so we can store it in the backend.
And also, I'm interested in seeing what happens when we actually add a third, you know, category to this graph instead of just being male and female, you know, because that will completely change the look of the graph as well.
Yeah, that's true. So in modern user interfaces, we always have a third option, at least a third option, because there might be people who don't identify themselves with either male or female. and there should be at least an option like other.
I'm going to share with you an article that I read today about UX design called Designing Forms for Gender Diversity and Inclusion. It was really interesting. It's a nice read.
Mm-hmm. So we are aware of that, but for simplicity, we stick to these two. That doesn't mean we will deploy it as it is. It just means for now, let's keep things simple and just have those two. If for the final solution, there will be this third option.
Which is more tests that we can create later, right? I mean, we can create a test and watch the test fail, that there should be, or that it has a ability for non-binary gender choices.
Exactly. Now, what we want is a form here. You can see some what the Met created, this input field and this button. We want something similar here, and we want. So there are two ideas here. You could either, for example, let the user click on the population pyramid, and just say, okay, I belong to this group. Click, and then there would be a request to the backend saving my data and making this bar a little bit longer. Does that make sense, Faith?
Yes, it does.
What do you think about that idea?
So, about
being able to click on the slice of the pyramid to update the backend versus, I think this is the way I understood the question, versus maybe having a form where you type in the information and the submit updates the backend.
Yes, thank you, Matt.
Okay.
Yep.
So if you click on it, you'll still have to type in your updates, right?
Well, not necessarily. I mean, the idea maybe is that because you can visually see like the slice of with the age group and the gender that you identify as, that when you click on that, you wouldn't actually have to type in any other information because you're clicking on I'm a female from the age of 20 to 25 or something like this, and then just by that one click, it would update the back end.
Oh, okay.
You see?
Yeah.
So this is an idea. Say, please continue. I didn't want to interrupt you.
Oh, I was saying it sounds easier than going to a form and filling it.
Yeah, that was my idea. So I think it's quite easy just to click instead of like fill out a form. However, I'm also a little bit worried because maybe people don't understand that they can actually click here.
Well, because I think you would have to actually put some sort of instructions, like put some text on the page, alerting them that because also as well with this article I read, like a lot of people, if you're going to ask their gender, they want to know. A lot of times they don't mind giving it if they think it's for a good reason, So maybe we could write some text that the reason we want you to click on this slice to share your demographics about your approximate age and gender is because it helps us to be able to have data that's representative,
Yeah. So this discussion here is not quite finished. I just wanted to give you all the options. And Faith, you are a part of the team, and you can also share your opinion with us and have ideas and be creative because you're a software developer, and this is something you have to think about and at some point make a decision. And to be honest, I'm not quite sure what's the best approach here. But yeah, let's also put that discussion for later. Maybe you can think about it, sleep a night about it, and maybe give me some feedback if you think this is actually a good idea or if we want to try it out and implement it.
My question
now,
my question just quickly about and I think a reason why we started talking about adding the text field and buttons was because actually clicking on the slice of that the chart is I didn't see an easy way that like each side of the the blue, the male side, and the female side of the slice actually has its a particular ID or class, like something that's different from the other side of the graph. So potentially, yeah, it would be a little bit difficult to implement. And whereas putting a text or having a button, all we have to do is just when you click on update, it calls a function, and that function sends information to the back end, and
Yeah, you're right. So this implementation, this click solution would be more difficult to implement. That's for sure. Than just having a form. From the technology side, the form is way easier.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And that's also the reason why I would, for now, go with a form. Because if we want to, we can replace the form later on and make the chart our form by clicking it,
Yeah.
It will be still the same data that will be sent to the backend.
I mean, in theory, it shouldn't be too difficult, right? Because I mean, each part of each age group with its corresponding gender would have a unique ID, and when you click on that unique ID, it triggers it triggers the function.
Yeah, this is how we would have implemented. Like, click on it and give it an ID.
Yeah.
Each of those slices here, Faith, have an element in an SVG file, which is called rect, short for rectangle. And I hope you can see the change when I focus on one of those rectangles, that different parts of the population pyramids is highlighted. And so there would be a way to, for example, as Matt said, give it an ID or something identifiable, or pass somehow the information into this element. And when I click on the rectangle, this information can then be sent to the backend and stored along with the user,
Okay.
Anyhow, okay. So right now I would suggest let's keep it for later and just implement the form.
Yep.
So
well, implement the test for the form, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Just implement the test for the form.
Yeah.
So the test is just writing or rendering the template for the component. So this code is in the test demographic form, app component, app routes, tests, templates. Here you go. No, that's templates. This one here.
You've passed it.
Okay.
Okay.
So this is the test. It is rendered, and it's rendering this template. So HBS stands for handlebars, which is the templating engine. And it will just render this line up here. And then check if there's if a component has length 1, so the component exists. So we will see it somewhere here. To make it more visible, I can go into templates, components, demographic form. Now I say, hello, Faith. Laptop is so slow. Next, I'll use your laptop, Matt. It's kind of annoying. Okay, there you go. Can you see this?
Yeah, but then you need to tell me what you're thinking, and then by the time I actually do it, it takes the same amount of time.
All right. Okay, so I just entered hello this hello Faith here. And now it shows up here. So this is the template for the demographic form component. And down here is the template for this entire page. Okay. And this one here will then render this template up here. This is the so-called component pattern. So you have different parts of the page representing, so we have a hierarchical structure. We have components. Components can include other components. There's one template at the root level, and this template can render other components. This component pattern is basically concurrent divide. So you divide a problem into sub-problems. So you have different responsibilities, makes things more easy. You know, you can have a component that is responsible for the form data. This is what we're going to do now. And this one is independent of, for example, this chart here or this button or whatever, or the menu, for example, which can also be a component. Does it make sense?
Yes, it does.
Is the high charts is a component as well? I don't remember if we.
It is. So this one here, this is the chart. If I remove it, the high chart will be gone soon. Here's a seconds. Wait for the server. Yeah. You can see those components also in the Ember Inspector. Faith, if you want to develop Ember as well, I advise you to install this Ember Inspector plugin. So you can, for example, see, now the chart is gone, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you can see the view tree, which will show you the different levels of hierarchy. So we have the application template, the visualize template. The visualize template will render the visualize.demography template. Right?
Okay.
And we should also see the components in here.
Inside that.
This I actually, this Ember that you're using is an extension, an add-on for Firefox.
There's an extension for Firefox and Chromium. Right now I'm using Chrome.
Okay. Yeah, I actually added it to this this morning when I was trying to figure out why the request wasn't working. But then when we started the pair programming, you reminded me that I actually have to have the backend running for it to respond.
Yeah. So the Ember Inspector is really useful. And I just checked this thing here. It will show you also the components now. And you can see there are a couple of components for the link to, so for links in that page. This is all a component here. There's a language chooser. This is the language menu here to switch between English and German. And we should see our, my screen is too small. Graphic form component.
Form component.
Can you see it?
No.
And if I have my mouse here, you can see it there. So this is the component here.
Okay.
All right. Now let's go back to topic. I will add the high chart component again. And whenever I put it into this tab here, it will show up in the on the website. And the good part here is that it can also create a test to check whether I can see the component when I render it to have this text. For example, I could say, okay, when I say render demographic form, and I want the component, so this is this $sign here, refers to the component. I can, for example, say I expect it to have a text. Hello, Faith. Right?
Okay.
because we see the big title saying "Hello Faith." So chart is there again. Front-end test. Why there are so many failures? I don't know.
But you can also use it to have, I don't know, instead of to have text, to have input field or something like this.
It always runs twice. I don't know why it's always running twice, honestly. Something is wrong with my machine. The laptop is really slow. So this is, I don't know why this is failing right now. Come on. Good. Some strange timing issues. So now going. So I clicked on demographic form. Now we only see the test cases for this component. Okay. So apparently I don't know how to code. Did you mean that? I expect to have text. So we are using two frameworks that are called Chai and Mocha. I cannot tell them apart. I think Mocha has this describe and it thingy. So here, this it method comes from Mocha, apparently. And expect comes from Chai.
Are you importing the expect? I don't
Yes.
see you import expect.
I mean, this method has to come from somewhere, right?
Yeah, but oh, is it on line 1? I can't see line 1 of your code.
Yes, it is on line 1.
Oh, okay, cool.
It says expect import curly brace expect from Chai. Now I see if there is some to be is that wish what exist property throw self.
I found I don't know if this is helpful, but I found the alternate unit test cheat sheet for Mocha, Chai, and Xenon.
Yeah, Xenon is another testing framework in order to make mocks. So you can use it all together if you want. Has text. I'm pretty sure we have it. Front-end tests. Iteration. Oh, maybe there's in. There's someone at the door. Is it okay if I quickly open the door?
Yeah, of course. Go for it.
Sure.
Gonna have a look and see if you can have a.
Yeah. So, ich bin übrigens neu. Ich bin Robert. Dankeschön. Du uns hier? Genau, gut. Ich bin übrigens auch, also ich bin Softwareentwickler und arbeite selbstständig. Und arbeite auch im Internet.
I know what it is. He needs to say to have string instead of to have text.
Text. Yes.
Yeah. Have you forked or cloned the repository on GitHub yet?
Have I?
Yeah.
What are you asking? Sorry, I didn't get that.
Have you forked the repository for the project?
Yes, I have.
Ah, cool. So I just, while he was doing that, what I did was I just searched for to.have in the project, and then it came up with all the instances where they've already implemented some tests in
Text.
for the project, and I found that he has in some places to have string, and this kind of thing.
Oh, okay. Text to have string. Oh.
So maybe that's what, because the different. Have you had a chance to have a look at the Ember guides?
Not. I just started looking at it like a few minutes before the call.
Ah, cool.
So not too much. Yeah.
I started on Monday or something looking at it, so I'm not so far ahead of you. But if you go through the Ember guides, the tests that they write are from a different testing syntax called QUnit. So there's some differences between the Ember guides and testing language and the testing language that we're using on this project.
Okay.
So yeah, and the reason I guess why is because it is the one that Harvard has chosen to use. It's really beautiful testing syntax because it's really similar to English. You know how it reads, like it has blah 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 and expect to equal. You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas the one in the Ember guides, it's a little bit more assert dot equal, and then you pass in. So you have to like kind of read it. Assert that these parameters will equal each other. Whereas in this syntax, it kind of reads a little bit more like English from left to right, you know?
Okay.
I just found it. So I was just checking other test cases, and here you can see it. Like there is apparently a method called text. And then you can, for example, say expect it to match and something.
Also, as well, like I was having a look at the project, you could use to have string instead of to have text.
Oh, nice.
Remember?
Right, let's do it. So you can say have string.
Yeah. Now that should pass.
I'm interested if that passes.
Well, there's some of in the project. There's some in some cases that we talked as well about you pass dot text dot trim and then to have string blah blah blah. And there's some cases where you can just pass in to have string and give the string. You know.
Mm-hmm. Object to be a string. Oh yeah, right. So apparently this works, but I have to call text first to get the text out of this node.
Yeah.
So this object is a node and has a method text, and if I call it, I get the text.
Yeah.
And text, and then I can say, okay, this text should have a substring. Hello, Faith. Now this should pass because I can see it from the other error message. You know. This is an object, and it's yeah.
Oh, and in what cases would you need to trim the text?
If you want to have exact match, trim removes spaces in front and at the end. So if you want it to be the exact text and there's some superfluous white space around, then you can say trim and just to remove it.
Cool, so that works.
Okay. So this now is this worked.
Awesome.
And we can double check it, and this is something I would advise you, Faith, always to double check your tasks by, for example, making a deliberate error. For example, remove a character here. And what do you expect now? What should happen?
Back. Let me see.
I just removed the F. And you can see it here, not yet, but soon. It says, hello, 8th. And what do you think, how will this affect the tests now?
I think it will still pass.
It will still pass? Why?
Yes. It's because it's just expecting a text. I don't think it looks exactly at the number of characters in it.
So you think the it will just check whether some of the characters are in there.
Yeah.
And actually, it's failing now, and you can see it here. So the text here, it is 1 space, then hello, space, 8th, space, and then 2 new lines, which is also white space. And this was expected to contain hello, Faith.
Okay, so the spaces, okay.
Yeah, this F is missing.
We would expect it to fail if you were if you put the F in lowercase as well, right? Because it's in this case it's looking for it's case sensitive, right?
It is. So I just put in the lowercase F. Hello, Faith.
Okay.
See what happens now. But this is kind of easy to understand, is it, Faith?
It's failing because of the space.
Not about because of the space. This method to have string means somewhere in the whole text. It doesn't matter where, but this substring needs to be there.
Okay. So that.
We could also say it should have string hello or it should have string faith. It will also pass. But altogether, if we remove a character from in between, then it doesn't match anymore. Right?
Is this actually a good test to are you writing this test to leave in this integration test, or are you doing this more to show us? Because it seems to me that like if you decide to change the name of the form or the title or something, that this test you'll have to update the test to pass in whatever new subscreen you decided to use. So it seems like not necessarily a necessary test, I guess.
Yes, that's correct. That's a good question. So I don't want it. I will not keep this test case, but my goal was to write a test case where I have a current user. The current user has a name.
Yeah.
But let's say the current user has already changed the age group or the gender, and I expect it to be there. So the form should have the current value of age group selected.
Yeah.
Right? That's
current
what I
value
want.
over?
Say it again.
Current value over. You're expecting it to have the current value of? I didn't get the last part.
The current user. So the user who's currently logged in.
Okay.
Whoops. So now I'm logging in. So I'm logging in with my credential, Robert Schäfer. So the backend is not running. This is because we have this error message here, but I can use the front end. So now I'm logged in, and I want to see, for example, if I have this form, and let's say I'm 28, and I'm male, so I belong to India. I want to see this value selected in the form. Right?
Okay.
So, and there's a way to do it. You could, for example, say, we can make use of Amber Data Factory Guy, which helps us to create records in this local store. Have you used Factory Girl for Rails?
Yes, I have.
Or Factory Bot? It's called Factory Bot now.
Yeah.
Have you used?
Yes, I have.
AI is very similar. We have templates to create records, and we can use it in our tests. And again, I'm not going through all the documentation. I just steal from the existing tests. For example, one here. So there is make manual setup from Amber Data Factory Guy. And I just copy that. So I'll just copy the methods make and make manual setup from embedded factory guy. And I think manual setup is something that I need to do as a setup. Here you go. Yeah. So it's before each. Put that here as well.
Faith, would you mind muting your, because every time I sound it shows your picture instead of the code, and I'll mute mine as well.
I think I can also fix the window. No? I think I can somewhere here. I can say cameraman. No. What? I think when I click on here on my screen, then this this will stay. Like the focus will always be on my window. I hope so. If not, just so I don't know. I'm stealing from other. I'm stealing code from other test cases. So let's say we have a current user. That means let's create a user, and we can do it in a before block. So this block is run before anything and before each test case. Yeah, it's before each thing. Huh? So before each, and then a code block. And here, this will be run before every test case. And then we can say we have to put in this here, manual setup. This is required by embedded factory guy. I don't know what actually, sorry. I don't know what actually happens, but this is required for embedded factory guy. And this one here is the syntax to create records in the local store. Now we don't need a broadcast, but we need a user. Okay, so this is the name of our local variable. We can also call it current user. This is the currently authenticated user. And we say make user, and this user doesn't have a title, but the user has a gender for now. Let's say it's just male. Okay.
Sorry, you don't need to with this declaring this local variable current user. You don't need to use let or const or.
Yeah. So you're so right. You're so right. Thank you very much. I also have to do a couple of things more. So use this let thing. I declare it in the outer scope, so I have access to it from test cases. If I would put it here, now we have access to it in this before each block. So I put it at the very top. Now I also have to import manual setup. I did this. I have to import context in before each. As far as I know, context comes from Mocha. So all those global methods, you have to import it in JavaScript. What else before each? Right?
Why doesn't it? Do you know why they? Does it improve like the performance by instead of not just importing everything that's available from Mocha, all the syntax available from Mocha, that you import one by one as you need? Like, is there?
Yeah, I often ask that myself. Honestly, I don't have the answer to that question. Okay. So it would definitely improve the performance of the developer because you don't have to import it all over the time.
Yeah.
Because it could just import everything and just let me do it.
Yeah, I mean, if you forget I'm sure that you've had failures before where you just went back, and the only reason it failed is because you forgot to import that keyword.
Maybe it's because for bugs and for name clashes, maybe there's a before each coming from another module.
Okay, maybe they share the before each.
Yeah, maybe they share the before each or something like context. This is something, sorry, this is something generic. So maybe there will be errors if you have twice or, so if you have multiple contexts, you know. I would like to have this here to be imported for every test case, like describe it, the context before each, after each. This is so common. I just wanted for all the test cases to be imported. Maybe there's a way to do it, maybe not. I don't know.
It doesn't seem very like coming from like learning a little bit about Rails. Like it doesn't seem very dry, does it?
Yeah, exactly. It's not dry at all. By the way, dry is short for don't repeat yourself. So we are repeating this import statement in all the test cases. This is kind of
the
annoying.
chai as well. Expect.
Yeah. Okay.
Here.
So we have still our failing test case here. Hello, Faith. Because there is the yeah, you can actually remove it. Now we want to have a radio. Let's say we make a radio button. The radio button looks like this. Oh, is it called radio button?
I did the same thing when I was looking for it.
So yeah, this is exactly it. Male, female, other. Actually, we can just copy that.
So we're writing both the test as we read the code for it.
For each, say it again.
I'm saying we're writing the test as we write the code for it, like for the demographic form. We're writing both the test and the functionality. That's the question I'm asking.
Yeah, exactly. The test is only for this component. That's the whole point in this testing pyramid, you know? We're testing only parts of the system. This here has, like, it's testing many things at once. It's testing parts in the front end and in the back end. And the more you go down in the pyramid, the more smaller test gets and the more isolated the test becomes.
Okay.
And we are now here. And a unit test, for example, would be just to test one particular method. Yeah, for example, I don't know, some computational stuff. Okay.
Okay.
And here we are testing how the template gets rendered. We can test click handlers. We can put in models and see if how the template or the result, how that changes. Right?
Okay.
This is testing more things at once. And the acceptance test would be if you actually render the entire page. So the acceptance test was to, for example, go to this URL here and then expect something to be visible somewhere on the page. So it renders a lot of things.
I'm a little confused though. You copied in so these radio buttons that because before Faith joined us, I was asking you about this, the native support for radio buttons in Ember, but I see that you just copied and pasted an HTML, regular HTML form, and it appeared there, which is kind of cool. But we're gonna write the test. I thought we were gonna write the test before we implemented the. So like write the test, like because I don't know exactly how to. I know I've seen that in a couple of the tests in the project you can test for if it has a string or if it has a text or these kind of things. But can you test write a test expect it to have a form, for example?
Yes, of course you can write a test to expect the form. You can test many things. So let's go to the docs. We are there. So testing components. The example here is So apparently they test, what do they test? So they pass in a property, and then they expect that the result to have a red color. So this is one way to test it, but you can also test actions.
So like you're gonna visit the page, and then you're gonna expect it to find some, but that's the thing, you need to like to
yeah, this one here is testing to user interaction. So component can have handlers. Apparently, so when I click a button, it should update this title here.
Yeah.
It makes it so the first title is title, hello world. And when I click on this button, it changes to this is magic. Because this updates this title. This is a property. The value of property title will be put into this template here.
Yeah. But then what's the, can you scroll down and look at the test for that? There you go.
Yes, it's here. So you have magic title. Now it shows hello world. Right? So here's the QUnit style. It says query selector H2. This is the header level 2 text content. Interesting. So there's text content. They call trim.
Yeah, because this is the QUnit testing, remember? So they have the whole assert equal and await and all these kind of in the Mocha doesn't, it would just be .text, right?
Yeah. So now this is hello world. So they compare this value with this value. It has to be equal. This is also why they remove white space at the end and at the beginning. And it needs to be the exact match.
Yeah, but I've seen how to do it with buttons though, because you can click on a button. But I guess I don't know. Maybe it's just my lack of experience with writing tests for radio buttons. But like for example, a checkbox, you can set the value to like is checked, and then you can see if it that status changes based on their interaction. But I would imagine you can do something similar with radio buttons. I just don't know exactly how.
Yeah, this was what I want. That was my plan. So radio buttons selected. This is yes, of course, there is an option. Select radio button by default. There you go. It just says checked.
Okay. But I think in Ember, from what I was looking at today, you don't set the value to check. There's actually a you can pass in with the input, you can pass in checked is equal to something, is checked, for example.
Yes. So yeah. So you can make it depending on the property is checked.
Ah, there you go. Yeah. There. Yeah.
And this is what we are going to do. So we have now this form, and it has input types, and we have already here some genders, which is nice. And what I'm going to check is that when I have a current user with a gender M, which is short for male, this one here should be checked, right?
Yeah.
The test looks like this. We say current user, make user gender M. What about not saying M, just male?
Yeah. Can I ask a question as well? Like, it's different when you're writing a test to check for something and the actual user case. But when someone signs up, this is something that we're going to be asking them, or this is something that when they actually go to the visualized demographic, because you said you're going to, when they already have an existing gender, to have it already checked on the page, and then they can change it if they would like to or whatever. But I understood that this is going to be something that they can add if they want to, but it's not something that's going to be asked when they sign up.
No, I want to make it as easy as possible, and not to make not to put obstacles in their way. If you ask them right from the beginning, what's your gender, what's your age, probably you will not have many users.
Yeah, that's
we
what I
don't
said,
have many
yeah.
users so far. I can tell you how the user development is like. Like we didn't have any new users in the last week. Let's see.
How's that
There are
possible?
always
I just became a user last week.
I don't think so.
I know.
You became a user with the development version, but not with the production version.
Ah, okay, yeah, probably. I need to get on.
So because you asked, I will show you the development of how many users sign up. There have been quite some reports on the media about this project. And when there's a report on the media, you can see a big increase in users.
So I guess that goes back to my question then. Since we're not going to be asking for it at sign up, you wouldn't when they navigate to the page, you wouldn't have something checked by default because we don't have that information as of yet in their user profile, right? So
yes, so there's just nil or null.
Yeah. So yeah,
we have to ask them politely if they want to share or if you want to tell us their age gender.
So then wouldn't we set it originally to is unchecked, and then when there's a change, when someone clicks on it, then we're able to track that there is a change to the status from unchecked to checked?
Yeah, of course. You can immediately send the data to the backend as soon as there's any change.
So as soon as it changes the status from unchecked to checked, then it calls the action for update gender or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. It depends on what you want. Either you wait for the user to click on the submit button if you have one, or you just make the check on the radio button. So this is the development of our users during the time. So I think this was November 16. I have no idea what happened on November 16.
It looks like 15th and 16th, no? Or no?
This one is November 14, 15. Maybe this was a report on Rundfunk about this project. So this one here was the CCC, the Hacker Congress in Leipzig. Yeah, there wasn't a big increase in users so far. That's just, I guess that's just normal because this is a project run by volunteers, and yeah. I mean, you have to put in a lot of effort and time in order to keep it up and running. I think it's very, very much important for the media because the discussion is there. So the discussion about public media and especially the funding model of it here of public broadcasting is big in the media. I was
actually talking to a friend of mine who's Brazilian, but I had forgotten she had lived in Germany, and she was I was explaining to her this project, and she was like, "Yeah, I know. Like, I didn't even have a radio or TV, and they wouldn't let me not pay for it."
Yeah, yes, exactly. So many people are upset even if you don't have it, you have to pay for it. And I would say, well, if you have to pay for it, at least you should get a voice.
Mm-hmm.
That's the whole idea. Okay, we got a little bit distracted.
Yeah.
Now, Faith, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here. The distraction.
Follow us?
Yes.
Could you follow? All right. So where were we? Yeah, the forum here. So by the way, if you need a break or something, just tell us. We can help at any time.
Okay.
Are you still okay? Like, are you kind of tired or something? I mean, we were talking for how long already?
Yeah.
Can we see it somewhere? I don't know. It feels like an hour and a half or something.
Yeah, I think you and I started about 2 hours ago. because I sending you a message about.
For me, it's okay. I just don't want to annoy you or stress you out or drain you. Is it okay for you, Faith?
Yeah, I'll just grab some food when I'm hungry, but I'm okay. Yeah.
So you're grabbing some food now?
No, in a few. But it's like a 2 minutes or 1 minute walk, so I'll just be back here. So I could just sneak out and come back.
You will sleep and come back?
Slip out.
I could slip out. It's just a minute away where my food is.
Yeah. I think she's saying, don't worry. When she wants to grab some food, she can slip out, grab some food, come back, and
yeah, slip out. Sorry. I'm very sorry. Yeah.
It's okay.
Right. Okay. So if there will be any issues, just tell me. It doesn't matter. We can stop at any time. I mean, we got distracted quite a lot now and couldn't progress that quickly. And I think it's also important to go on slowly in order to keep everyone on track. Okay. So tests. This one here is my idea is let's say I'm already logged in.
Sorry, can I ask another question that I just noticed right now? That is a little bit different than what we did. Is what's the difference between using make and build? Build actually touches the database and make doesn't?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
I think I have it here already. Make. You can make records that persist in the store, and you can build a JSON payload used for mocking an Ajax calls payload. So build is just, it will give you the JSON or the object, but it doesn't store it in the local storage.
Okay.
Okay.
So the opposite. All right.
Now I'm storing it in the local storage.
Yeah. Okay.
It's not even necessary, I would say. You could even use build here.
But then you'd have to import build instead of import make. So
yeah.
So for now, we just stay with make.
Yeah. Okay. So this makes sense. We have male, female, other to contain hello face because we still have our old expectation. But it's not. There's no error because we forgot an import or something. So this looks okay. All we have to do is to change this expect statement here. So, and what I'm saying now is, okay, we have the user. The user is male. And I do the following. So I say user, current user. So we have the generated here. And set any properties with this, set my property value. Yeah, so there are different ways how to do it. We can either do this, like this set means I set the property at runtime. I can also pass it in here. So current user refers to this current user. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same as if I would do this here. Okay. Current user here is null, so that will just make no change. But it is the same as I would do it here in the test. Is it okay for you? Do you believe me? Is it understandable?
I'm not. I understand that you're assigning this current user that you let at the top to user, but I don't exactly know what you're gonna like. I want to see the test so that I know why you need the yeah. I guess because you're gonna check that the user is signed in, like the session is authenticated.
No, I want because my current user is male. I want the male radio button to be selected by default.
Okay.
Right. So now it looks like as if I don't have any gender, so nothing is selected by default, but let's say I would be male and the system knows I'm male. I wanted to have this radio button checked by default.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because what you're going to check for ultimately is if it's changed to something else.
Yeah, exactly. So when I change it, it should also
update the database.
Yeah, it will update the database. Now I'm doing the kind of the opposite thing, and because I don't know how to do it, I have to look it up. Shay?
Also, as well, like so the first time that the person visits this page, it's not going to have gender of male or female, like you said, because it's not going to be asked at sign in, right? So there won't be anything checked. But the second and third and fifth time they go there, if they opt to answer the question, then the default behavior will be to have this radio button already checked.
Yeah. That's what I want. Exactly.
Okay. All right, cool. Because it's going to save the information in the database so that it's going to be any information about them that in this case will be rendered in the database or rendered in the view.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't know how to expect a particular I don't know how to test if the check property is checked. Not probably we have to do it like this here. Like we have to say get attribute and say checked, right? Or selected. Yeah, it's called checked. And here they say get attribute. So this one here is the node. And we say this corresponds with this part here. So instead of text, we say, I think this is the jQuery, and we can just use the same syntax like in jQuery. Let me see. Checked. Oh, and by the way, we need to somehow let's keep it simple stupid. I just remove the other good forms. So attribute input. Hey, Faith, this here input correspond with this node, input node.
Okay.
You see it?
Yeah, I see it.
And now I want to see if the attribute checked, which is currently not in here, is equals, I don't know, checked, for example. That would be checked. And let's see if this works. I was just guessing that this is the correct method. I don't even know if that is, I think this $sign stands for jQuery indeed. So I could just say attribute.
Did you add the checked equals checked to the input?
No, I
so
didn't. So
you're expecting
the test to fail.
Okay, cool.
There's even prop for checked. Okay, so if I'm correct and this is jQuery indeed, then we can say attr for attribute, give it the name of the attribute, and we get the initial state of the checkbox, or in our case, the radio button. Let's see. Undefined, which makes sense. So what happens if I say so now I'm expecting here to be a black dot, And maybe this test already passes. Yeah, nice.
Nice.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah, this is it.
So then you're gonna want to toggle this checked status, no?
Yes, I do want to toggle it, and I want it to behave that as I described it in this test. Like the test is your specification, you know. So when I render this demographic form component, and there's a current user, and this current user is indeed male, I want it to have the male input radio button to be checked. Because it is male. So it should be selected by default.
But like you deleted the other ones because in the way this line 46 is written, you need to pass something else to specify value is equal to male. No, you're missing an E from value. So you can yeah, nice. Ultimately, you're going to set all of them to. You're gonna set originally checked, and then you're gonna ask some like if user.gender is defined, then toggle this checked status to from blank to checked.
Can you help me? I have difficulties to write a good description. So, given the current user, it displays the gender. It does its gender by default, or what's the best? I would say this is okay. It displays its gender by default. By it means the current user.
Yeah, or their gender.
Their plural.
Yeah, well, because there is as a gender neutral term to describe people who who are gender non-binary, or who instead of saying he or she, you can just say there, and it can be used as plural, but it can also be used as singular when you're talking, when you want to be gender neutral.
Yeah, nice, awesome. Yeah.
That way, it doesn't sound like,
I never heard that before.
Yeah, so it doesn't sound like an object, So there's some people who prefer to be called they, even though it's a singular person,
Awesome, thank you so much. I didn't know that. Yeah. By the way, since you're a native speaker, please correct me for my English. I'm really not only learning how to become a better developer, but also to become a better English speaker.
Yeah, definitely.
So this is something
I'm sorry. Are you missing on line 37? Are you missing a closing bracket?
Yes, I do. And there's a syntax error.
Yeah, it'll tell you. That's what I love about. When did you start programming for the first time, Robert?
When I started with uni, that was 2009.
Okay, and in 2009, from 2009 until today, the developers' tools and the error, like syntax errors and this kind of stuff, has made leaps and bounds, no?
Yes, totally. Like I started with Eclipse and slowly progressed to the terminal and Vim. Yeah, and we are safe again.
Yeah.
Just to double check that this test is actually testing something. Blah. Not to fail. We could also we could also, instead of equals check, we could say not to be nil. I think this is even better. Is not null. Not to have property to be an array, not to equal.
Can I ask a question? Just because if I was thinking that if like we can set up some logic in JavaScript to actually make a query to user.gender, for example, and if user.gender is not null, then actually add the class checked to the to that specific gender value.
I didn't understand that.
Because right now you're adding like you're adding checked equals blah but I was saying just leave it like line 3 or like line 4 where you don't have any you don't have checked defined at all, and then check the back end for the user if they have a gender that's actually defined, and if they do have a gender that's defined, then you add the class checked, or not class, but you add checked and set it to checked.
You mean it will fail because add checked will already be nil?
Yeah.
Okay. Just to give you some directions. I mean, we created an awesome test now, an awesome test case. We want to make it depending on the user, right?
Yeah.
What we could do is, for example, do something like this here. So now I'm using handlebar syntax, faith, keep attention. So the double curly braces is handlebar syntax in order to something with the form. It's in one line, and it's kind of like quite a lot of logic, but I just want to show you what you can do with an if statement. So handlebars if statement looks like this. So you can say if author, then this should be rendered, otherwise this should be rendered. You can even use it in one line, like if user. Okay, so equals user. So this is a method getting 2 parameters. That is user.gender, male, and then
Yeah. So that's I guess, because you have type and name and value and then you have checked, which but I know that you can, like with jQuery, you can add classes, right? So that you can add a class hidden, for example, when they click on it, you add the class hidden. But can you add, instead of adding class, can you add checked?
Yes, you can.
That's
yes,
right.
I'm thinking about it. So the if I could This is a one-liner, and I can return something in here. So, for example, this is what I use when I want to add one more CSS class. But now I have to add an attribute checked with a value checked.
Yeah, that's it. Attribute. That's what I was thinking.
So what definitely works is this one here. Check it equals. This definitely works, but it will not. It will. I think check will still be there.
Yeah.
There's somewhere there's a right here.
You can do you can put a type no, that's type checkbox, but you can add, you can disable it. No, you wouldn't want to disable it, would you? You just want it to be unchecked. No.
Okay. Damn it. Faith, probably this is going to be kind of difficult now, because I'm going to lose you now, but I'm just mocking up the current user in the controller and say gender male, and I'm hoping that this will then at least make this radio button checked, but probably this is not going to work. Oh, it does. It does. It works. Yay.
I didn't see, I was having a look at something else. I didn't see what else you did besides, yeah, I didn't see the first thing you did.
Huh? I cannot see.
It's not checked.
Is it there? There should be a change now.
Yes,
Why can I not?
I wonder.
Why is male checked and nothing else? That doesn't make sense to me. Say female. So the front-end test for some reason is failing, because it if I say checked, it's undefined, which makes sense if I look at the HTML, because there is no attribute checked now. It's if it's not there, it will return undefined. Right?
What about I don't think, what about this here that that I found, like giving it a class of gender, and then I don't know if this pure jQuery would work, but asking you call it .change and then add a function and set the attributes to the whatever value you want.
Honestly, I think I'm going to be tired now. So what I don't understand is, it looks correct, it looks correct. So I just added female, and indeed, it's the pre-selected value is female.
Yeah.
But I can't see it in the HTML. The front-end test is failing, I guess, because I can't see it in the HTML too. And I wonder why this actually works, honestly. I don't know why. It works.
So the only thing you did was I don't know if I missed the first part. The only thing you did was you added you added a gender of male or female, and it
I added to the controller. I created a property called current user.
Yeah.
Which is an object with a gender, and here it's female.
Yeah.
So I say current user dot gender. It will return this string here.
Yeah.
So here, current user comes from the controller. Current user is passed into the component demographic form user. If I go upstairs, then I see user. And now I say, okay, check, the value of check will be if this expression is true. Sorry.
Yeah, that's why it works, right? Because you're saying if the gender is a female, then add the attribute checked, and the other ones you're not adding the attribute checked because they're not true.
Yes, that's what I thought, but why do I don't see it here?
Why don't you see it in the HTML?
That's something that bothers me. Like, is it somewhere maybe because of this here? Probably now we get a syntax error. And I'm expecting to see this checked attribute at least once.
Yeah. In this case, on the female.
Yeah. Anyhow, this is not very clean at all, because if you write a template, you should try to avoid to put too much logic in here.
Yeah, wouldn't you use a controller for that, like a controller action, just like and then just call the controller action, and it goes to, and the logic for if the user dot gender is equal to male, then you just have it written one time in the.
Yeah, what you can do is, I mean, these actions they handle user input, you know, and it's still there. It's correct, but I cannot see it in the HTML.
Yeah.
Weird. And this one is also failing. Okay, one last test, and I think then I'm done for today.
Yeah.
So let's see. I don't know if that actually works. We'll see. Faith, are you still with us, or did you lose track?
I am here.
Okay. Is everything okay? I mean, it's kind of okay what we are doing here. For example, I wouldn't understand it if someone else is showing it to me and I wouldn't have any clue of Amber. I probably wouldn't understand a single word. Now I have a build error. not a modifier. Member add attribute conditional.
Did you have a look at the, that code I sent you on jQuery and see if that worked? I got it from this
Which
page.
code?
I think it's you give it a class of gender and then you say dot change and then you call a function and the function can set an attribute, like for example the checked attribute to a specific, like there dot gender. Not that one.
That would work, but I don't want it to be, because this is kind of ugly. This is the jQuery way of doing it.
Yeah.
I wanted to do it the Ember way, and I want to avoid I want to avoid jQuery as much as possible. So
I had a look at the Ember guides on the conditionals, and unfortunately, I didn't see anything that.
Yeah, here you can see how to use this if statement in a CSS class. So the CSS class goes from here to here, and car is always included. And if there's a property is fast, or if the if is fast is something that's not undefined, then it will add the class zoom. Otherwise, it will put.
Yeah.
And I want just to do just the same thing, but with attributes. Why is there no example how to add attributes additionally? Or maybe we say additional. Attribute. Interesting. Oh yeah, right. There's a component, a default component of Ember with the nice name input.
Yeah,
so we don't
I have it. I used it there in the code when I added the. It's actually there on the when I added the text field.
Oh no. Yeah, of course we can use input. We are so stupid, or I am so stupid. You're not stupid. You're awesome.
Yeah.
No.
Are you sure you need this title equals after the handlebars? I think you can just say male, female, other, no? Yeah.
It has a title here. It's literally translated into title.
Yeah, this I looked at this earlier actually. I think we started off talking about this, that they don't have this input doesn't have actual native support for a radio button. You can use checkbox if you want, type checkbox, but type radio button doesn't exist.
No way.
Yeah, that's why they have when you searched for it, there's a gem or a plugin that you can grab from two different Git repos, one from Stone Circle and the other one from Yap Labs, that are called Ember Radio Button, and then it's a component that is actually a radio button, you know. And then you can inside of the template you would just call like hashtag radio button. You can give it a value of blue or whatever, a group color, a group value like color, and you can say changed, like color changed. So you could say like something like that, like is checked or not checked, and then then
okay, now I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to install a plugin now. Yeah. I'm using checkboxes now and check this. Okay, tile, we don't need that. Instead,
or maybe giving it I don't know. It says really this block form results in giving it a class of Ember Radio Button. I don't know if that Ember Radio Button is a class that's only available because of this plugin, or yeah, probably because of this component.
Fail other, and there we go.
So you change them to checkbox to facilitate.
That doesn't make any sense. Looks here. Was it? Hang, looks like the template compiler error. The input helper cannot be used in a block form. What? How can I add the label then? Probably not at all. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I think I'm done.
Yeah. You've had a long night. Yeah, I don't know, like at the bottom of the page on the input helpers, it talks about binding dynamic attributes, you know? So using get and mute, but
yeah. Okay,
maybe
so
we can have maybe tomorrow or another day we can come back.
I mean, the whole point here was to provide you with a test case, you know, and that's why I'm now adding just the front-end tests, and leave the rest to you.
Go.
No, I don't want to commit that, and neither do I want to commit that. Okay. Here you go. Oops. Okay, the GP is, by the way, I'm using aliases. So GP is git push, GC is git commit,
aliases,
and so on. All right, pushed. Good. I would say let's leave it for now.
Okay.
It's become dark here in Berlin.
Yeah, it's late where both of you are, I think. But yeah, I'll have I'll have a look, you know, see if I have a play and see if I can figure some stuff out. And are you going to be around tomorrow?
Tomorrow I have an appointment tomorrow in the afternoon. But yeah, just text me and I'll probably be around.
Yeah, cool.
Faith. Now, finally, I hope you're not bored out.
No, I was just floating most of the time. But yeah.
Okay. So next time I hope this goes on a little bit smoother. Maybe I was just very tired today, and this took way too long. I think Agile Venture standard is to switch the driver after 20 minutes. I mean, we switched the driver today at the very beginning when you just joined, but this took way too long. It was all just to explain you how to write a component test. You can look it up on Ember. Yeah.
Okay.
This is pretty much it. Did you learn something? Like, was it helpful?
Not so helpful because I was still struggling with the whole concept of it's new to me. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe you can. What I can suggest to you when you want to start with Ember is to go to the Ember guides and do the tutorial. That's a really great tutorial with Ember. It only goes for a couple of minutes. There's a getting started tutorial. Yeah, creating your own app.
I just did so I understood a little bit more, you know, so it was a little bit more, it was more helpful for me because on Monday I went through this Ember guides, the getting started and also the tutorial, which was quite helpful because you can opt to write the test for it or not. And Robert, when you were answering the door, I was talking to Faith about a little bit of the differences between the syntax of the test on Ember guides and the ones that we use in the project. But yeah, like that helped a little bit. And I think this just for me, like the more familiarity I'm getting with coming back to using JavaScript and with using Ember, the more I'm able to understand, you know, and I think like I'm not expecting to learn everything about it in one day to the next, you know. So I think it was quite nice, you know. I'm happy we were able to talk for a few hours, you know.
Keep on learning. Like knowing such thing like Ember.js is really a valuable skill. Every modern web application nowadays uses one of those popular frameworks, like either Ember, React, Angular. They have their similarities, especially this component pattern. This component pattern is predominant in React and Vue and also Ember. So it doesn't really matter what kind of framework you learn. You should definitely learn one of those because it will show you the differences of modern web development versus the old way of rendering everything on the server. It's not, by the way, it doesn't mean that rendering things on the server is bad in any way. It really depends on your use case. This client-side rendering is especially helpful if you want to have this app feeling, you know, that things are loaded while you visit the site. There's no request that refreshes the entire page. So if you want to have this nice user experience, and many companies and many people nowadays want this good user experience, then you should go for one of those SPA frameworks probably, and which also helps you to write mobile applications because you have your server and your front end up and running.
Okay.
There's so Faith, there are many job opportunities for front-end developers.
Okay.
I feel like I have a task in also learning JavaScript itself, like getting a deeper understanding of it.
Say it again.
I'm saying I also think I have the task to learn JavaScript itself.
Yeah, yes, of course. JavaScript is probably the most used programming language nowadays because there's so many web applications out there, and JavaScript is the most used web language for this kind of stuff. And yeah, it's really,
Robert, would you? Sorry, with someone like learning, because I've done a little bit of like Faith. I don't know if you've heard of Free Code Camp, but it's a resource that is free, that and you can go through. They give you different homework and challenges, and it's very interactive, and they have some stuff about JavaScript and jQuery. But Robert, my question to you would be, like, with someone learning Ember.js, like, do you think that you would need to have some sort of a background with JavaScript? Yeah.
It definitely helps. It definitely helps, but things are different in Ember. So it helps. So if you learn JavaScript, plain JavaScript, it's good for you because you see the difference and you get a feeling for the level of abstraction. Like, yeah, so there are certain concepts that you don't use in Ember, for example, like those ECMAScript classes, for example. Ember has its own class syntax for it, but you should learn it because you will definitely need this knowledge. JavaScript is complex. Yeah, it's not easy, but everybody has to learn it. So you can start with Ember. It depends on your time. So if you could start with Ember and learn plain JavaScript later on, or do the other way around. In any case, you have to, in the end, you need to get the overview and learn probably both. The Matt's tip with Free Code Camp, I would suggest that too. So probably their tutorials are more straightforward, and it doesn't take so much time with it, like this pairing right now, where we spend 2 hours on one front end.
Well, I mean, for me, like to go through the whole Ember Guides tutorial took me about a day. I started it one day and finished it the next day, so it wasn't something that was like just a 20-minute tutorial. But also, like, what I find really helpful is, like, I've done a lot of, I don't know a lot, but I've done my fair share of just tutorials and guides and stuff for Rails, and now doing for Ember and different things. But a lot of times, like I was explaining to Faith earlier, like it doesn't translate exactly over into, like we saw today, like where when I started off adding a text area, I had a little bit more experience because of the guides and how to implement that, and then to make checks to see if that form is there or this kind of thing. But when you start adding like different components that are more to do with the project you're actually working on, I feel like there can be a little bit of a learning curve in for beginners and to how to debug things and that kind of stuff. So like being able to have some support of a project that we're working on, that we want to implement some features, and we have someone with experience like you that can help guide us, I think is awesome,
Yes, of course. Just go those different ways, like do the tutorial and have a real application where you can get your hands dirty and have someone who can help you with that. That would be me. Just text me when you have any questions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Even if it's just you forgot to turn on the backend server.
Classic.
Cool, man.
Okay.
Have a good night.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you so much as well.
Yeah, no worries. You're welcome.
Okay. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.